Good morning. Good morning. Welcome or welcome back to Bookeemonsters. My name is PK. It is Tuesday, April the 23rd. Hope you are having a good day. Happy Shakespeare's Day. And for those celebrating Passover, we acknowledge and celebrate with you. Today is Tuesday, so we are looking at the mysteries and thrillers, and there are a lot of them. So I probably won't read the whole description today, just so that we can get through to everything. Um, we'll play it by ear there. Quick announcements. We do have sprints tonight at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I could start a little early, just depends on if traffic goes well and walking Keo goes quickly. So make sure you have the notification bell. Not that YouTube always helps us out in that regard, but sometimes I do start early. I do the sprints on every Tuesday and Thursday evening and Saturday afternoon, starting at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Eastern. All right. I think that's it. All right. Let me get rid of this banner. And we will jump into, should we work our way this way? We'll start here because it's a good one. All right. Like I say, I've got a lot of tabs up, so I don't want to accidentally close something. Whew, that'd be bad. Good morning, Mary. Happy Tuesday. Sorry I missed you yesterday. Slept in after a long weekend. How'd your show go? I didn't hear. I had a pretty good Tuesday. Met with some really nice folks. Good. Did you sell some stuff? Murder in Rose Hill by Victoria Thompson, 27th in the Gaslight series. This is a very good series. If you are looking into historical mysteries, definitely start at the beginning. Midwife Sarah Malloy and her private detective husband, Frank, discover that the cure is worse than the disease when they investigate the death of a promising young woman, blah, blah, blah. Sarah Malloy has just helped with the delivery of a bouncing baby girl at her women's clinic when she receives a visit from an engaging and determined young woman writing an article for New Century magazine. Louisa Rogers explains that she is researching the dangers of patent remedies. Sarah is only too happy to tell Louisa exactly what she thinks of the so-called medicines, whose ingredients include heavy doses of alcohol and other addictive drugs and hurt much more than they help. A few days later, Sarah receives a visit from a bereft Bernard Rogers, who explains that his daughter Louisa had been found strangled in the lobby of the building where New Century has its offices. The police have decided it was a random attack and have made no attempt to investigate. So, therefore, she's going to. This is one of the very few U.S. set historical mysteries that I do enjoy, and I do recommend. We'll go this way. Got some big names too today. Marcia Muller. The Sharon McCone mystery, number 36. She's been writing this since the 70s. Circle in the Water. This is 34th in the series. Pranks escalate into a deadly scheme that private investigator Sharon McCone must unravel before they claim her life. San Francisco is home to more than 200 privately owned streets. Most are alleyways, but a select few look torn straight from the pages of a magazine. Lined with mansions and elaborate gardens, the properties are luxurious and perfectly maintained. Security guards patrol the grounds to keep the curious at bay. Few know of these exclusive enclaves, but those who do prowl for availability, ready to make a grab for the precious real estate if opportunity strikes. With several such streets, when several such streets are targeted in a series of so-called pranks, Sharon is hired by a coalition of concerned owners to investigate. But as things escalate, an attempt on Sharon's life, an explosion at a meth lab, and a shocking murder, Sharon realizes far more is at play than a few misdemeanors gone wrong. And this is another good historical mystery series. I'm a little bit behind right now, but always good to know there's a new one on the horizon. This is Death and Glory by Will Thomas, 15th in the Barker and Llewellyn novels. If you like Sherlock Holmes, this kind of has that flavor. And I do like the covers. In 1894, Cyrus Barker, London's premier inquiry agent, is entangled in a conspiracy to revive the American Civil War by prominent figures long believed deceased. Interesting. Private inquiry agent Cyrus Barker, along with his partner Thomas Llewellyn, has a long accomplished history. He's taken on cases for Scotland Yard, the Foreign Office, and even the Crown itself, fulfilling them all with great skill and discretion. None of those cases, however, are as delicate and complicated as the one laid before him by a delegation of men who, 30 years before, fought for the Confederacy during the American Civil War. These men want to revive the Confederacy with a warship promised to the rebels from the British government in 1865. To get it now, they're threatening to reveal the long secret treaty with the Confederacy. Barker is hired to use his connections to discreetly bring their threats to the Prime Minister. With a web of prominent, if secret, supporters throughout England ready to look at that typo, throw their support through to their efforts to wage war anew on the United States, the delegates are just waiting for the warship to begin their plans. But some of the men are not who they claim to be, and the American government has their own team watching and waiting for the right moment to take action. Excuse me. That is a very good series. I did sell some things, some of which I had oh nice, a long time with some particular favorites. Glad to see them go to new homes with people who love them. Oh, very nice. Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. Sisters, secrets, love, and murder. For as long as they can remember, Sarah, Nora, and Alicia have been told how lucky they are. As young girls, they were rescued from family tragedies and raised by a loving foster mother, Miss Fairchild, on an idyllic farming estate and given an elusive second chance as a happy family life. But the childhood wasn't the fairy tale everyone thinks it was. Miss Fairchild had rules. Miss Fairchild could be unpredictable, and Miss Fairchild was never ever to be crossed. In a moment of desperation, the three broke away from Miss Fairchild and thought they were free. Even though they never saw her again, she was always somewhere in the shadows of their minds. When a body is discovered under the home they grew up in, the foster sisters find themselves thrust into the spotlight as key witnesses. Or are they the prime suspects? Next of Kin, third in the Annie McIntyre Mysteries by Samantha Jane Allen. Uh, at a gathering for her cousin's wedding party, newly licensed PI Annie McIntyre gets asked an age-old question. What really makes us who we are, nature or nurture? Clint Marshall, an up-and-coming musician and adoptee at a personal crossroads, wants to hire Annie to find his biological parents, and that question is on his mind. Annie accepts his case, not knowing then that she too must decide if she really believes what she tells him that night. In essence, that people are in charge of their destinies, that people can change. When Annie discovers her client's father is a bank robber who her granddad, Leroy, arrested back when he was sheriff, reverberations sound between the past and the present, igniting old flames and rivalries. When the brother of her client dies suddenly, his death ruled a suicide. Annie questions whether or not it was in fact homicide, and who in his family of outlaws would rather some secrets stayed buried. The Last Word. Seriously? This says it's a Ruth Galloway mystery. I didn't think she was. I really don't see her name in here either. I think that's incorrect. This is by Ellie Griffiths. Look at that. Look at that. It says it's a Ruth Galloway mystery, but it's actually fourth in the Harbinger Cower mysteries. Ooh, bad. Um, anyway, by Ellie Griffiths. Words turn deadly with an unlikely detective duo on the case of a murdered obituary writer in this blah blah blah. Natalka and Edwin are perfect, if improbable, partners in a detective agency. At 84, Edwin regularly claims that he's the oldest detective in England. He is a master at surveillance, deploying his age as a cloak of invisibility. Natalka, Ukrainian-born and more than 50 years his junior, is a math whiz, who takes any cases concerning fraud or deception. Despite a steady stream of minor cases, Natalka is frustrated. She loves a murder, as she's fond of saying, and none have come the agency's way. That is until local writer Melody Chambers dies. Melody's daughters are convinced that their mother was murdered. Edwin thinks that Melody's death is linked to that of an obituary writer who predeceased many of his subjects. Edwin and Benedict go undercover to investigate and are on a creative writing weekend at an isolated battle house when another murder occurs. Are the cases linked? And what is the role of a distinctly sinister book group attended by many of the writers involved? By the time Edwin has infiltrated the group, he is in serious danger. Dot, 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 dot. 3,000 ratings, and it's just published today. It's really not a lot. Yeah, exactly. And NetGalley, maybe. Lost Birds by Anne Hillerman, 27th, in the Leaphorn and Chi. Wow, lots of older, established authors, shall we say. Uh, Involving several emotionally complex cases that will test the detectives in different ways. Joe Leaphorn may be long retired from the Navajo Tribal Police, but his detective skills are still sharp, honed by his work as a private detective. His experience will be essential to solve a compelling new case, finding the birth parents of a woman who was raised by a Ilagana family, but believes she is Dene based on one solid clue, an old photograph of the classic Navajo child's blanket. Lee Porn discovers that his client's adoption was questionable, and her adoptive family was not what they seem. His quest for answers takes him to an old trading post and leads him to a deadly cache of long buried family secrets. As that case grows more complicated, Leaphorn receives an unexpected call from a person he met decades earlier. Cecil Bowleg's desperation is clear in his voice, but just as he begins to explain, the call is cut off by an explosion and Cecil disappears. True to his nature, Leaphorn is determined to find the truth even as the situation grows dangerous. Investigation of the explosion falls in part to Officer Bernadette Manuelito, who discovers an unexpected link to Cecil's missing wife. Douglas Preston, another big name. This time he's doing his solo work. Extinction, in the Michael Crichton mode that explores the possible and unintended dangers of the very real efforts to resurrect the woolly mammoth and other long extinct animals, which they did in several movies, but yes, it probably serves to be told again because there's people trying to do it and they're stupid. Erebus Resort, occupying a magnificent 100,000-acre valley deep in the Colorado Rockies, offers guests the experience of viewing woolly mammoths, Irish elk, and giant ground sloths in their native habitat, brought back from extinction through the magic of genetic manipulation. When a billionaire's son and his new wife are kidnapped and murdered in the Erebus backcountry by what is assumed to be a gang of eco-terrorists, Colorado Bureau Investigation agent Francis Cash partners with County Sheriff James Colcord to track down the perpetrators. As killings mount and the valley is evacuated, Cash and Colcord must confront an ancient, intelligent, and malevolent presence at Erebus bent not on resurrection, but extinction. And people will do it. Look at today. People are absolutely stupid. Torn Asunder, a Maine clam bake mystery by Barbara Ross, 12th in that series. Sleuth Julia Snowden and her family's coastal Maine clam bake business, Murrow Island is a perfect spot for a wedding and a Snowden family clam bake. Julia Snowden is busy organizing both until a mysterious wedding crasher drops dead amid the festivities. Julia's best friend and business partner, Zoe, is about to marry her policeman boyfriend. Of course, a gorgeous white wedding dress shouldn't be within 50 yards of a plate of buttery lobster, so that treat is reserved for the rehearsal dinner. Julia is a little worried about the timing, though, as she works around a predicted storm. When a guest falls to the floor dead, it turns out that no one seems to know who he is, despite the fact that he's been actively mingling and handing out business cards. And when an injection mark is spotted on his neck, it's clear this wasn't caused by a shellfish allergy. Now, as the weather deteriorates and a small group is stranded on the island with the body and the killer, Julia starts interrogating staff, family members, and Zoe's artist friends to find out who turned the clam bake into a crime scene. Dot 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 dot. Following her dad's footsteps, love the Chi and Lee porn mysteries. And boy, the big names are out and about, exciting because they are usually good books by them. Exactly. It's nice to have so many options of quality rather than the paranormal. I didn't say those. Okay. No, no. A Game of Lies by Claire McIntosh, second in the DC Morgan series. They say the camera never lies, but on this show, you can't trust anything you see. Stranded in the Welsh mountains, 7 reality show contestants have no idea what they've signed up for. Each of these strangers has a secret. If another player can guess the truth, they won't just be eliminated, they'll be exposed live on air. The stakes are higher than they'd ever imagined, and they're trapped. The disappearance of a contestant wasn't supposed to be part of the drama. Detective Fionn Morgan has put aside what she's watched on screen and find out who these people really are, knowing she can't trust any of them. And when a murderer stripes, Fionn knows every one of her suspects has an alibi and a secret worth killing for. Dot dot dot. A Spy Like Me, 6 days, 3 agents, 1 chance to find James Bond. This is second in the Double O series. This one has intrigued me for Spy versus Spy September. This is by Kim Sherwood. An elite team of MI6 agents must go undercover to unravel a smuggling network funding violent terror in the second thrilling adventure, blah, blah, blah. James Bond is alive, or at least he was when he left a clue at the black site where the insidious private military company Rattenfanger held him captive. MI6 cannot spare any more lives attempting to track down one missing agent. No exceptions, even for Bond. But Joanna Harwood, 003, has her own agenda. Sidelined by her superiors while she grieves the loss of a loved one, Harwood goes on an unsanctioned mission to find 007. Meanwhile, MI6 has another problem. A bomb has detonated in London. 00 agents on the trail of the terrorists responsible acted quickly to prevent mass destruction and save lives. But MI6 failed to neutralize the nation's enemies before they could strike, and one of their own was seriously injured in the blast. They won't fail again. That intrigues me. Assassin 18 by John Brownlow. Sorry, we are running out of time, and we still have a few to go through, so I'm going really fast. This is by John Brownlow. I'm waiting for someone to kill me. Tonight would be a good night for it. Agent 17, the most infamous hitman in the world, has quit, but whoever wants to become Assassin 18 must track him down and kill him first. So when a bullet hits the glass inches from his face, he knows who fired it, doesn't he? It turns out that the sniper isn't the hardened killer he was expecting. It's Muriel, a mysterious, silent child abandoned in the woods with instructions to pull the trigger. Reuniting with his spiky lover, Cat, 17 has to protect Muriel and discover who sent her to kill him and why, but the road he must travel is littered with bodies, and the answer when it comes will blow apart everything 17 thought he knew. At the Edge of the Woods, a Lou Ferris mystery by Victoria Houston. There's another name, third in the Lewis Ferris mysteries. Someone is murdering pickleball players in Loon Lake, and Sheriff Ferris is on the hunt for their killer. When a local pickleball player is shot in the head while practicing at an abandoned tennis court with his partner/lover, Sheriff Lou Ferris suspects that the bullet was a stray shot from hunters in the area. It's not until a second player, the first victim's mistress and pickleball partner, is killed that Sheriff Ferris realizes that's really not a good combination there. Realizes this is no hunting accident. Someone is hunting people, and it's up to her to find out who. Four-Alarm Homicide by Diane Kelly, a house flipper mystery. 6th in that series. Some properties are too hot to handle. Carpenter Whitney Whitaker and her cousin Buck are hot for a historical property that has just come on the market, a fire station in Nashville's Germantown neighborhood that was built nearly a century ago. The cousins have just begun the interior demolition work at the fire station when Joanna Hartzell, who lives in a townhouse around the corner, comes by with a plea for help. Joanna owns the right half of her building, which she proudly maintains in perfect condition, while the left side falls into disrepair. The seven adult children who inherited it years ago refuse to lift a finger on repairs. Never one to turn down a challenge, Whitney and Buck managed to acquire the rundown townhouse, though it turns out Joanna is only one of the many neighbors interested in buying the property once they've worked their magic. Then Joanna shows up at the fire station confused and rambling, then collapses, never to recover. Alarm bells go off for Whitney. She suspects something and someone evil could be the real cause. Can she and Colin put the clues together and smoke out a killer? That sounds kind of interesting. Patchwork Quilt Murder by Leslie Meyer, 30th in the Lucy Stone Mysteries. Another name. During a heat wave in Tinker's Cove, Maine, part-time reporter Lucy Stone becomes unseasonably entangled in handmade quilts and a twisted case of murder. When a community center opens in town, many embrace it as a space where locals of all ages can gather and create. Others view it as a waste of taxpayer dollars. The director, Darlene Busby Platt, is no less controversial, intense, and showy. Darlene has huge plans for her new role, but Lucy believes the woman isn't exactly as warm-hearted or qualified as she seems. That hunch deepens when Darlene and a young employee vanish and dismembered remains appear. With lots of clues and few concrete answers, Lucy rushes to connect loose ends, etc., etc. Last Girl Left by A.M. Strong. When a woman returns to the scene of the horrific mass murder that shattered her life, the nightmare begins again in a chilling novel of blah blah blah. 5 years ago, Tessa Chamberlain was the lone survivor of a beach house massacre that left three of her friends dead, and Tessa with an inescapable, unending dread. Now she's going back to face her fears. Renting the same beach house where she almost died, Tessa returns to lonely Casadaga Island off the coast of Maine long after the tourists and summer residents have departed for the winter. Because that's always a good idea. But as the fog rolls in and the nights grow longer, she wonders if she made a terrible mistake. There are footsteps on the porch, creaks from the second floor, and an unsettling feeling of being watched. If only someone believed her, because the terrors Tessa thought were long behind her are starting again. And this time, trapped and alone, she might not be lucky enough to survive them. This one I also got because it sounded intriguing. Historical. This is The Mayfair Dagger by Ava January. London, 1894. Albertine Honeycomb never wanted a husband, and certainly not the one with 15 children that her cousin Aubrey is trying to marry her off to. She reinvents herself as Countess von Daga, a private detective aiding the upper echelons of women in society. As the Countess, she is a married woman with a conveniently absent husband who doesn't exist, which allows her far more freedom than being single. I had a flashback to like Remington Steele. When Lord Grendel, from whom she has recovered blackmail letters, is murdered, Albertine is suspect number one, having been the last person to see him. And when the Duke of Early comes looking for her utterly fictitious husband, she realizes she has landed herself in hot water without a tea bag. When Albertine also becomes a prime suspect in her fictional husband's death, things are looking grim. Unless Albertine can prove who murdered Lord Grendel and clear her name, her choices are stepmothering enough small children to start a school or hanging from the end of Her Majesty's rope. That did sound intriguing to me, so I did buy that one without really knowing the author. But that's all. We made it, but that's all we have time for too. These things came together. Did you have a good weekend? And how's Keo doing with his cone of shame? Healing, I hope, and out of the cone. He still has the cone. We have a vet follow-up visit this afternoon. I think the ringworm is pretty much gone. The The reason why he has the cone on the head is the uh, hot spot on top of his head, which I think the only thing that makes sense is if it came from the medicated shampoo. But I think he's probably going to have to continue to wear it still because it's still crusty. So, but we'll find out. Thank you very much for asking. I did have a good weekend. I read a really good thriller. So good. If you want a really fast thriller, it's called Listen for the Lies by Amy Tintera, and the audiobook is uploaded somehow, well, probably illegally, on YouTube, so it's free. So just search Listen for the Lies. The audiobook is fantastic, and I have a hard time with audiobooks. It has to be perfect or I will not listen to it. I read it in 2 days. I really, really liked it, so I highly recommend that. But yeah, it was a good weekend, and I figured out the wedding blanket I've been working on. I've been stalled on it because I wasn't liking it, but I solved that problem too. So it was a very good weekend. Thank you for asking. All righty, so we do have sprints tonight at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll probably start a little bit early. So tomorrow's show will be romance. We'll see what's being released into the wild in the land of love, or, you know, lust, or pain equals love, or, whatever they're calling it these days. I just want a nice romance. Boy meets girl. They have a disagreement, they fall in love. That's all. That's all I want. All right, guys. Hope you have a very good Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching, either now, thank you, or if you're watching it later, thank you. And hope to see you soon. And as the banner says here, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom nom. Have a good day and God bless.